We'll move on now to Patrick Vieira's sacking. I really wanted to bring this up because Marvin was particularly frustrated by this. He hit Twitter and he, in a big way, quoted the Sky Sports News breaking news with "Football is anti-black."
That
is some Kanye West sort
went
shit.
in.
Yeah.
Nah, look, I'll be deeply honest, yeah. It feels really problematic that Patrick loses his job based on his form, and I look at so many other top managers or even managers, how long Lampard survived in his job. Whether we look at Klopp and his poor form, which has never been really, really bad, but like again, indifferent. Potter's form at Chelsea. You're looking at all these Gerrard's form at Villa, how long they get. And we look at the fixtures that Crystal Palace were playing in, and for me, they didn't deserve to necessarily win any of them, but they never got battered. Not once. There's never one game where I looked at them and be like, who the hell are these people? So being beaten by a better team just happens. The specific thing around anti-blackness is black men do not survive management in football, period. It just doesn't happen at any particular level. They don't get long stints. They don't get the chances that other managers get to even get the jobs. And when they get the jobs, they don't last as long. And the reason why it's even more sad for me is because they brought in Roy Hodgson. There's no vision in there. You can't tell me that that's a safety bet, that they just think to shore the ship. They got rid of him because he was not effective. And actually, he was not innovative in any single way. And under Vieira, they've played some great football. They didn't support him as a manager properly with proper signings. They gave him some dead signings in the summer and in January. And this is a great opportunity. For me, he's an amazing manager. There was actual talk at one point of him probably managing Arsenal instead of Arteta. That's how good he was, less than a year.
Well, this is where I was going to get to, though, because I was going to go, is this a bit cutting deep? Not just because of his race, but because he's an Arsenal legend.
I don't care.
Are you sure?
Like Thierry Henry at Belgium, I don't care. Like I love Thierry Henry, and if I saw him and I stopped breathing, I don't care if he gets sacked from Belgium because they're not good.
That's because Thierry Henry was an absolute Monaco joke. Vieira at least has looked pretty good as a manager, but pretty good. I mean, not like elite, not like Champions League level, nowhere near Arsenal. If you play for Southampton or something, I don't think you'd be as passionate as you are.
Vieira?
Okay. Yeah, Vieira.
What do you mean?
He's been okay. I mean, he got sacked at Nice. He was in the MLS.
No, the comment is about anti-blackness here, first and foremost. It's not about...
I won't argue with that.
He is a good manager, yeah? So he's a good manager. He's not a great manager. Exactly. He's not the most innovative manager, but he's at Crystal Palace's level.
Okay, can I put some context in this, boys? Because to your point, I thought Vieira had a really good start with Crystal Palace, and he really shored them up. He made them nasty, hard to beat. They weren't the walkovers that they had been previously. And he's leaving them in 12th in the league, but in the last 5 years, they are 16th in the spending. So they're very low down in as you said. Look, they're 3 points above the relegation zone, but people have games in hand on them. So they are despite 12th, it's a precarious position. They could still go down. But it did feel like you haven't given him a lot of money. And what are you expecting? And then bringing in a Roy Hodgson, it's so short-sighted when you've got, like, I thought Bobby Robson and Sir Alex Ferguson were old when they left their final jobs in management. They were 71. Roy Hodgson, 75 years old.
Insane.
It's a slap in the face to Patrick Vieira to replace him with that guy.
Thing with Vieira is, you say they're 16th in the spending, but I mean, he has superstars in Zaha, Olise, Ebreki Eze. And the thing
they're
is...
not superstars, relax, please.
Zaha is a superstar, okay? I won't hear anything...
It's relaxed.
No. He's up there with Sam Maximin in terms of one of the best dribblers in the Premier League. But the thing is, Palace are great defensively. They only lose 1-0 every week, but they don't score goals. I think they went 3 games without a shot on target, which makes no sense.
They're the lowest scorers in the league.
Yeah. So you might say they haven't bought in any marquee players, but they've had Zaha for...
They don't have a proven centre forward. It's a problem for them, and it's been a problem for a while, and they've had 3 or 4 come in, and they haven't quite been able to do it. Fine, now those things happen, but he has made them really difficult to beat. He made them nasty. He has a lot of talented players that he is probably coaching and developing. Like, there's no way Zaha's going to stick around now.
Say,
do you know what? And I feel like... Now, look, if you look at Olise, Eze, those players, they look at someone like Vieira, and there's a relationship that you will not understand. When we talk about some of the players who have fallen out of the game, the Dele Allis, the Lingards, who have disappeared, for me, it's a mental thing, and it's a culture thing in football that disconnects. So a lot of black men who are going to play football, there's something that happens in the source where all of a sudden they fall out of the game, they drop off in form significantly. Having black men in senior positions in football helps that relationship and that understanding of those things going on. So for me, when it's look at those type of players, I know they'll prefer to be managed by someone like Vieira over someone like Hodgson, and it will help their career. That's like 6 of your forward line are those types of players.
I don't know, man. I think Wilfred Zaha's going to be excited to see Roy Hodgson come back through the door. You know, he gave his England cap in 2012. I think he'll be stoked. I don't know what you're on about, Marv.
Does anyone else think that this was harsh? What about you?
I think it's super, super harsh. When I watch Palace play when they've been at the Bridge and when I've watched them online, I thought the way that they've played is way better under Vieira than Hodgson. They set up with Hodgson in a 4-2-3-1. There was, quite frankly, always a low block. They were super defensive whenever they played. Now they're playing a 4-3-3, which I always think is really been really, really exciting. And actually, Vieira was playing 2 attacking midfielders in the 3 in the field, which was just like insane. Like, so to say that they're compact and they can, grind out games, that's one thing. But Vieira actually had a philosophy. He actually had a style. He was actually a tactician. And I think what every player that plays under him, and actually a lot of people that have just been, friends with Vieira in the game, always say is he is a tactician. He isn't a manager that would come in and do a massive shout at half time. What he would do is he would go, this is what we've got to change. We've got to play in this certain way. And he was a very smart manager. That's why I honestly do think it's an appalling.
They finished 12th last season and they got to the FA Cup semi-final, losing to Chelsea. So no one would ever look at a Crystal Palace team with that investment thinking that that's a terrible return.
Yeah. And look, they had Conor Gallagher, who was and is an amazing, amazing player, and they've missed him a crazy amount. Like, he did completely revolutionise that team. So I think trying to fill that gap would always be hard.
Listen, I think it was harsh, but I don't think it was appalling, though. I want Vieira in the league for the same reasons you do. I want to see more black managers in the league. I want to see managers that, like you said, players can relate to and maybe form relationships with. But there is an argument for the results as well. I know they didn't spend a lot of money, but this is how the game is of football, unfortunately. Like, I wanted him to stay on, and I think he deserved the chance to turn it around. It's tight, they're 12th in the league. Yeah, they could drop maybe into the relegation places, but I still think there's enough games for him to maybe turn it around. And the fixtures were going to get better for them as well. But at the end of the day, this is football. And if Roy Hodgson manages to keep them up, they're going to be justified in their decision.
My problem is then what?
Wait, hold on. And Steve Parish, this is another thing people need to know. He's been a fantastic chairman for Crystal Palace. He's kept them in the Premier League for 10 years straight. I don't think any other manager in Crystal Palace's history has managed to do that. So the fact that he's done that means he's actually made the best decisions for the interest of the club.
So for me, I feel like, yes, he if I look at the work of what Crystal Palace should be and what he's done and the pivot that he made, I would say he has also been a great chairman, but you can still make stupid decisions that are, at the base of it, just really bad for your club. Because even if you do get to the end of the season, then what do you do? Are you going to bring in Lampard? It's like you're going to recycle the same type of managers that are going to come back in to replace him.
But you can't take the risk, can you? If they end up staying up, like I said, they're just going to feel justified in their decision, even without a vision going forward.
I don't think the risk part had started, because the risk part was in these next games where it's like, if you start losing those and drawing those and people start going above you and you're sinking further, that makes sense. But there's no benefit in doing it today versus doing it in 2-3 games.
Craig, you mentioned Steve Parish there. Is anyone really shocked? Because this is the same man who 5 years ago sacked Frank de Boer after a month. Do you say Vieira's not given enough time now?
8 losses.
I don't know. He came in with a good reputation.
He was shocking.
And do you know who replaced de Boer? Roy Hodgson. Right?
If Parish, was put under the spotlight, he would point to the fact that they went on a 12-game run without a win, 3 games without a single shot on target. So in his head, he's probably thinking, this is getting worse, not better. And if I don't act now, I could regret this later. But Hodgson is a really strange...
But for Parish, what does he expect? Like, what is success for Palace? Like, where should they finish in the league? I think 12. I think 12 for Palace is quite a good result.
Right. If you're Steve Parish, though, you're looking at it going, these teams may be worse than us. They may be below us currently, but they're winning games here and there in 2023 where we haven't won a game for 12 games.
They're playing Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal, like the top players, top teams. So for me, their run was so unlikely for them to yield much anyway, but now they're on the other side of that. And they still played, for me, they played well against Arsenal, and Arsenal were playing, they opened up Arsenal for 2 clear chances in the beginning, and we were actually under threat in the beginning. So it's like, they're not a bad team, and I just feel like it was about 2-3 games too early. I think they're definitely 16.
They lost 1-0 to Brighton. They lost 1-0 to Villa. These are games they can win. 1-1 with Brentford.
Marv, you were right about the run, because the last 14 games they played since, I think, the World Cup restart, 12 of them have been hunting down European places. So that's Brighton, that's Brentford, all of them in the top half. I know it sounds weird, 12, but I think they played Man United twice. But so it is a tough run. But Craig, you make a great point about Steve Parish, because Crystal Palace over the last 10 years are the most consistent team in the Premier League. Look into it.
Wait, what? What do you mean?
I'll tell you what, every single season, they're in the bracket of 40 points. They haven't hit 50 points. They haven't been in the 30 points. They've been at 40 to 49 points since 2013. That is consistency. So Parish knows what he's doing.
He definitely, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said it is harsh. This is how I feel. That's why it is harsh on Vieira. But at the end of the day, I do feel like the way the club's been run for the size of... I've been to Crystal Palace many times, worked there. It is a shithole. Like, we just got to be honest. No, I'm talking about...
I thought you were going the opposite.
No, I'm just being real. Like, the ground... Why am I in
looking at
trouble?
Steve Parish like, this man's making miracles.
No, I'm just saying, there's no silver... Like, everyone gets on to Spurs for having no silverware. They have nothing.
Yeah, you're not getting a job back at Sellers Park, mate.
No, well, it wasn't for Crystal Palace. But my point is, and if people want to be upset...
That kind of for me anyway.
But this is the problem with football. Well, society today anyway. People have a real problem with the truth. And we're going to get into this when we speak about Conte and Spurs, right? But people just don't like the truth. Like, I feel like where Crystal Palace is as a club, you look at their stadium, look at what they've won, their history and stuff. I think what Steve Parish has done with that club to keep them sustained in the Premier League is fantastic, really and truly, with the money they spend and how they operate. He's done well. I don't agree with this Roy Hodgson thing, though. And I'm not ageist, because we all got to get old, but 75 years of age. Well, see me, if Roy Hodgson's a multi-millionaire, right? Why are you still doing one of the most stressful jobs on planet Earth at your age?
I thought, but then you think about Joe Biden, who's 5 years older than him. And he's running a fucking world.
Yeah, I always say that as well. I don't understand. These guys should be chilling in Turkey or somewhere, just enjoying their money. I don't get it.
The most hilarious part, though, is that they've sacked Roy Hodgson because they wanted to go on this transition where they're becoming a different team, playing a better style of football. They want to completely change the way the club's run, and then they've gone back to Roy Hodgson.
But you know why? That's a really weird thing to do. That's where it shows me poor planning. Yeah. And the people that are inside the club aren't football people, because the reality is Brighton lose their managers and their players, and these players that keep popping up at Brighton, who are like, who the fudge are you? But like the other day I saw this insight piece on, is it Ferguson, the new striker?
Yeah.
I'm like, I've never heard of him in my life, and then all of a sudden, all of these amazing things that he's done have popped up. They just keep developing them. That's what a football club should be looking at. And so for me, Crystal Palace going backwards, if they brought in like a De Zerbi magician type person, I'd be like, do you know what?
But you know what?
I take it.
I think Roy Hodgson is a Palace fan, though. Let's give him that credit. He loves that club. He's a boyhood Palace fan, and it probably means a lot to him. And maybe they're thinking, it's something a bit deeper there. Vieira's not.
Roy
not Palace through and through.
Right,
he's a gooner. He's like Ian Wright.
James's Park.
Roy Hodgson, looking at that forward line and being like, we need to find a goal, lads. Like, I'm not buying it.
It genuinely reminds me of like a guy who like goes for the younger girl and then goes back to his old wife. Like, actually, I had it pretty good.
It's quite difficult out there, isn't it?
Yeah. She used to cook my dinner.
I think Palace were lucky to have Vieira. I think Vieira is a level above Palace.
Me too.
I honestly think he is good enough to be managing a Brighton's kind of level
proper team.